Okay.
Welcome, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Hello, everyone.
We're broadcasting on CIVL on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation.
Yes, it is.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality, as well as broadcasting on CIVL on the radio. We live stream
on 101.7 FM
on our YouTube channel and on our Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group as well. And
Which
in
is
fact,
exciting.
it is, because if you tune in one of those two venues, you get to see the show. You get to see the show, not just hear the show, and you get it a week ahead of time. And you get to interact with us, so you can ask questions live on air. And you can post topic suggestions. And this week, our topic is kind of suggested by a conglomeration of people who posted different questions more or less around the same topic. And so we're going to entitle tonight's show something like, let me see, what was I going to say? Poltergeists and other strange psychic phenomena. So beings, entities, poltergeists, and other strange psychic phenomena. And
Does that mean me?
Yes, I think so. We've got more or less three posts or more. And just to get us going, maybe we'll read out the experiences that these people shared and wanted to know more about.
Okay, well, I can read one for you.
Sure.
Maybe you can explain different types of poltergeists and spirits that can be felt, good and bad. How can I search? Is that one we're looking for?
Yeah, read that one.
Okay. How can I search your podcast to find if you've already made one? We have. I have a question. Many times during my life, I've experienced poltergeists and evil spirits. I used to be terrified when I was young. A few years ago, I had 16 floods in 4 locations and 2 fires. One night, I felt my bedroom filled with a crowd of loving spirits. I got their message and realized I would lose 3 loved ones, one after the other. This was followed by 2 years of electrical interference in my home. I also sense angels and relatives. Here's the thing. I feel protected now and living in a high vibration. The electricity thing didn't scare me because my Nana was with me. Nothing is happening now, but a lot of messages have uncovered past family truths, which has been healing. What do you make of all this?
Aha. Yes, so that's one of the posts. And maybe read out the next one by Shannon as well.
Oh, okay. And Shannon says, I'm curious, what spirit sounds like baby kitten? I had one in my apartment the other night and it moved all around my apartment. If I opened the closet, it would go in and cry in there. If I opened the cupboard, it would go in and cry in the cupboard. Is it a fairy?
Right. So there we've got 2 people experiencing strange phenomena. And there is a third one. And I will try to, it's a fairly long one, so I'm going to try and shorten it. It's from Haley, and she wrote several posts. First, to share an experience that she'd had, where she was woken in the middle of the night to see 4 children standing in her bedroom that weren't her children. And it bothered her. So she posted about it to us, asking for feedback. And then she followed up to say this. She woke to somebody punching her bed right in front of her face. It was really loud and she could feel the breeze from it. When she closed her eyes, a bright light shone in her face for a couple of seconds. A few lights later, she felt like they were going to come again. And so she said, please don't come. And they didn't. But when she got up the next morning, her son told her he had been woken by a strange sound like an owl. And then he felt someone poking his mattress hard, but nobody was there. So then she and her son slept in the same bed, and the TV turned off by itself. And she said the screen was grey, even though it was turned off on a channel. So she's wondering what to do. She doesn't know whether all the experiences are linked to this group of children or not. And so she was asking for people to give, feedback and advice. So we've got these 3 people with these strange experiences. So it seems like that's going on with a lot of our listeners, and perhaps we should tackle that subject. So I'm going to talk about the first one to begin with. So first of all, let's talk about poltergeists, because she asks, can we explain poltergeists and different types of spirits? And she also asked if we'd already done a podcast episode on that. And we've done some on entities. And if you go to drlesliephillips.com/category/podcasts, you can search all the podcasts. But let's tackle your specific one, because I think it's really interesting, and we've not really talked about poltergeists before. I'm going to read what it says on Wikipedia about poltergeists. It's German for noisy ghost or noisy spirit. It is a type of ghost or spirit that is responsible for physical disturbances such as loud noises, objects being moved or destroyed. So everyone had loud noises and strange things happening, didn't they? It also says that they are supposedly capable of pinching, biting, hitting, and tripping people. Most accounts describe movement and levitation of objects, such as furniture, cutlery, or noises, such as knocking on doors. Anyway, it goes on to talk about they've been reported around the world, and the first known claim of such a thing was in the 1st century. But that it goes on to say that scientists don't believe in it and think that there is a rational explanation. Okay, so what can we make of all this? So we've got one lady who's having floods, fires, electrical interference. We've got another lady with strange sounds like a baby kitten. And then another one with banging, punching noises, punching the bed, sounds like an owl, and possibly linked to some children showing up in her bedroom at night. So this is my belief. This is my belief, my personal belief about poltergeists. It's not necessarily a spirit, though it can be. It can actually be caused by somebody, either the person who's experiencing the phenomenon or somebody in their family. And what it can be, and I'm going to explain this as 2 different forms of this thing. I'm going to just write a note to myself so I don't forget the second one. And that is, there's a psychic ability called telekinesis. Telekinesis. It's the psychic ability to manipulate objects. And it is an ability, an advanced ability. It involves working with the hand chakras, the 1st chakra, the 6th chakra, and the 7th chakra together. So all of those spiritual masters who can levitate, for example, it's a form of this ability, and they're working at the level of those chakras. There's a chapter in my book around telekinesis, and I think the best way to explain it to you is I'm going to just read from the book. And then we can see whether the experiences of the people who've written into us are matching this ability of telekinesis. So telekinesis is the ability to, and this is my book, Intuition and Chakras, by the way. So telekinesis is the ability to move objects using mind power. It means distant movement. It refers to the ability to move or change the state of an object using your thoughts without physical force. It can include causing an object to move, shake, vibrate, spin, levitate, or even break. As I explained, it draws on information from the hand chakras, the 6th and 7th and 1st chakras. Using telekinesis, you can create heat or cold in an object via the speeding up or slowing down of the atoms it is made of. You can manipulate energetic frequencies such as light, radio waves, magnetic waves, and electricity. And actually, there are some different names for that. So hydrokinesis, so the ability to make changes to water, aerokinesis, the air, pyrokinesis, fire, chronokinesis, time, electrokinesis, electricity, magnetokinesis, and so on. And so in present time, it's not really a common ability on this planet, but legends speak of, ancient times when people used this ability to build massive monuments and that kind of thing, or even manipulate the forces of nature like the wind. So hopefully, if you've been listening, you recognize some similarities between what we're describing as telekinesis and what these ladies have been experiencing, okay? So I'm not going to read the whole thing in detail, but, things like watches stopping, things breaking, that can all be signs of this ability. I'm going to read. In the book, I've got lots of examples of people experiencing their psychic abilities. I'm just going to read a really great example, and then we can talk about the individual examples that wrote into us. So this is somebody who was a client of mine, and this is a real thing that happened. So Silvio arrived late for his appointment with me. He appeared both frustrated and concerned. He said he was having trouble traveling around and wanted me to look into what was going on. He didn't have a car, so he traveled on public transport. Lately, every bus he got on inexplicably broke down. It happened too many times to be a coincidence, and it was interfering with his ability to get around. He believed it must have something to do with him. On this particular day, when he had an appointment with me, the first bus he got on shorted out and stopped working because they were electrical buses, and they had to wait for a replacement bus. And when the replacement bus came, he got on that, and that bus broke down as well. And this was just like this common experience for him. So when I worked with this person, when I gave them a psychic look to see what was going on was it was their energy, their telekinetic energy arcing off and interfering, in this case, with electrical things. And so I worked with him to get his energy under control. I taught him how to ground so that the excess energy that was coming in him and through him was grounded off rather than arcing off into the environment. Now, I read you that example, and I talked about telekinesis because I have a little theory about these people who are writing in, or at least for sure the first one, okay? So Julie had 16 floods in 4 locations and 2 fires. Remember, telekinesis can involve pyrokinesis and hydrokinesis, right? So changing physical stuff like, water and fire, or pyrokinesis. I think I didn't say that, did I, for fire? And electrical interference. So she's got all of those things going on. So I am going to just take a quick look at her energy, and let's see. And see, that is what I feel like is happening. I'm seeing that she's got some powerful energy, especially I'm seeing, her arcing off between her hand chakras, her crown chakra, her 6th chakra. And I'm seeing she's not very grounded. So Julie, if you're listening, then something that might be helpful for you is to learn to ground, to get that more under control. So in those particular cases, you're not experiencing a spirit, you're experiencing potentially the effect of your own energy. I'll take a bit more of a look just in case, because I can see you going, oh, surely I can't, not. It sounds like the stuff out of science fiction.
And we have to do it quickly, Dr. Leslie, because we have a couple of more seconds to our break.
Okay, well then maybe we should go to a break.
Okay, that would probably, then we have a couple of comments for you as well before we start into that. That'd be great.
Yeah, so that just serves as an example of how sometimes these phenomena that feel like it's an evil spirit isn't an evil spirit. It's just something to do with your own energy because you don't have it under control yet. Listeners, you've been tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey. We'll be back after this break.
And we can go back if you'd like.
Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Hello.
We're talking about poltergeists and other strange psychic phenomena and what is really going on. Is it always a being, a spirit, or is there another explanation? And one of the other explanations is telekinesis, okay, a psychic ability that involves the ability to manipulate physical matter. People with that ability can have the potential to be great healers, by the way. All right.
So we have a few comments, and let's start with Crouch. I hope I'm pronouncing that Crouch. Joanne. Oh, I think she's got her first name and last name, Joanne. I'm trying to understand my gifts and messages, she says. And then Shannon says, my noise wasn't scary to me. You were talking about, I am clairsentient, and it didn't feel like I was in a negative energy. Right. And then she says, she has another comment here. No, she doesn't. And then Joanne says, I'm a healer, and I feel it when I use the mind too.
Right, exactly. And actually there's a close relationship between healing and telekinesis are both drawing on the same chakras, the 1st, 6th, 7th, and hand chakras. And so, I mean, a difference might be, let's say somebody comes to you with a kidney stone, and somebody who's an energy healer would work on the energy around that, the emotion, the underlying emotional, mental reasons why that formed, put some healing energy through the system, and over time, perhaps give an energy boost to the system so that the Healy goes into a healing mode. Someone with telekinesis could dissolve the kidney stone in situ, right? So So that might be a little subtle difference between the two. So I was going to talk about Shannon's one next. I was going to have a look at that one. So, because she's, what spirit sounds like a baby kitten? So what could be going on here? Before I do, remember I said I was going to make a note so that I didn't forget when I was talking about telekinesis. It can be that a spirit is hijacking that person's energy and inappropriately manipulating that person's energy to manifest stuff. Okay, so that was the other point. So that person could have a level of interference or even possession by an entity, but that entity's potentially using the energy coming through that person. Okay, so what spirit sounds like a baby kitten? So I'm just going to look at this, what was going on. But that's an opportunity to talk about another psychic ability, clairaudience, being able to hear as spirit. But isn't it interesting? It moved around the apartment. So let's take a look. What was happening with Shannon? I'm curious, Shannon, whether you experienced the sound. Well, it seems like you were experiencing that it seemed like it was coming from those places. It feels like it was your clairaudience, and it feels like spirit was communicating with you through your clairaudience. And here's the thing. I don't want to say like we can label a particular spirit as sounding in a particular way. Like there's, you know, fairies always sound like baby kittens. Because that's kind of not my experience of it, you know, but so it does look to me like it was something to do with your clairaudience tuning in, and spirit attempting to communicate with you. I'm not seeing the spirit moving around its location though. I feel like I'm just seeing the activity going on around your clairaudience channel, really. And who was it and why were they doing that? Not sure. I get like a blue vibration when I look at this. And that blue vibration, I'm not even necessarily sure is a being, more like a vibration that's being used to assist in communication opening up. So I'm actually wondering if it was a spirit guide attempting to communicate with you, and then why did it sound like a baby kitten? So sometimes when our clairaudience is opening up, we get, as we're raising our frequency, as we're clearing it out, we can get kind of odd symptoms like clicking noises or buzzing noises or whirring noises or just annoying sounds, that annoying random sounds that won't go away. And I'll share an example of my own, which maybe it's somewhat similar to your baby kitten example, but for the longest time, I had broadcasting in my ear somebody else's life. And it was a gay man's life. And it went on for like weeks, if not months. And it was kind of annoying and like, what is this? And eventually I just realized, oh, you silly, it's just your clairaudience, just switch it off. So sometimes we can just, for no apparent reason, be tuning into some random channel. You know, but that to me was an experience of my clairaudience opening up. So maybe that's what's going on for you. But I was just seeing just energy around, you know, sort of auditory psychic communication. I hope that that's helpful. Have we got any more comments, Corey?
No, not. Oh, hang on a second. Shannon was saying, yes, I thought it was in the apartment next to me at first, but it moved in every room with me.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's my hit on it, that it's to do with your clairaudience rather than a spirit following you around in your apartment. So shall we move on to the other one, the other lady?
Which other lady?
Well, this lady's Haley, and we read out her thing where she'd had sort of these ghost children appear in her bedroom.
We
And
read Shannon and we read Julie.
Yeah, and Haley as well.
Yeah, so we have Rosie.
No, it's okay, Corey. I read out Haley's earlier.
Yeah, I know.
And Rosie is just somebody in the chat that answered Haley's post.
So I'm not sure which one you mean you want to move on to.
What I mean is that we read out these 3 examples.
Mm-hmm.
We're covering them in the show, and I've covered 2 of them, but I haven't covered the 3rd one.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to do that now.
So it's got not to do with me.
It's got nothing to do with you, no. You don't have to do anything.
Well, knock your socks off.
Let me do my thing. Okay. So this is a whole bunch of stuff, isn't it? So what the heck is going on with this lady and her situation? And I think there's maybe some different things going on. And so to stay on theme, I'm going to focus, at least to begin with, on the experiences of her and her son, of people sort of, she had someone punching her bed in front of her face. He was woken by a strange sound like an owl, and then someone poking his mattress. And then together they had the television going off, even though they didn't turn it off. So let's see what's going on with them. Now, as you can tell, I didn't look at this ahead of time, so I'm looking at it now. So with this one, at least with Haley, I haven't looked at her son yet. I'm seeing it has to do with out-of-body experience and astral encounters. So sometimes when we go to bed at night and when we go asleep, we travel outside the body, right? Often in our astral body, and we have experiences in the astral plane. And sometimes something happens in the experience in the astral plane that sort of jerks us awake. You know, maybe something scary happens, maybe something frightening happens, or maybe something happens in the physical reality near the body that gets incorporated into the dream. And so, you know, it's that thing where we're woken up with a jolt, you know, because something happens in our dream and it's almost like it's real and we're woken up with a jolt. So the hit that I'm getting with Haley, at least with the punching in the bed thing, is she was in that in-between state between her astral experience and waking up. So she was still in the astral body, and it was a phenomenon that she was experiencing from that non-physical experience in the astral body that then propelled her into the body and woke up, and it seemed like it was something that happened in the physical body. So I'm seeing that one be an astral encounter. And then if I look at the sun, let's see. I also feel like it was phenomenon in the dream state. It's definitely the owl. Yeah, so it just looks to me like you're mirroring the experiences. You're having similar experiences to one another, and it's relating to your astral body coming back into your physical body and bleed through from the astral into the physical. The television turning on by itself, that's a different one, isn't it? So I'm wondering if everyone was asleep when that happened. I feel like it's around the same phenomenon. It's funny, but it ties in with what we were talking about earlier, that it's sometimes possible for us to manipulate physical objects with our energy. So I was just seeing it's almost like somebody turned the TV on, but maybe they weren't doing it from the physical perspective. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for all of those things that people wrote into us about. And as for the other part of what Haley was asking about, I did reply in the Facebook group, and you know, one of the other members of the group said that she felt it was a family of victims that were killed in her area, and that they wanted to move on but couldn't until the crime was solved, and that they were coming to Haley to help them. And I just commented to say, just because you see a spiritual phenomenon, a being of some kind like that, doesn't mean that you're then responsible to do anything. It's a bit like, I mean, you have a choice, right? It's a bit like, I mean, I always use the example, if you witnessed a car accident that happened way down the street, you wouldn't think necessarily that you were responsible in any way. Well, you might call the police, I suppose, but you wouldn't necessarily think that that has anything to do with you. And it's the same thing. Like if you're witnessing something with your psychic abilities, like a premonition about something, doesn't mean you're responsible, doesn't mean you have to take it on. You do always have free will in these things, right? And you do always have a choice about who or what to listen to. So in any of these cases, if it's some other, you know, being communicating with you, you don't have to listen. You can change the channel. So if Shannon doesn't want to listen to a baby kitten, she doesn't have to, right? If Haley doesn't want to help those beings, she doesn't have to. And usually there's lots of spiritual helpers around all beings like that that might get stuck in the in-between state. There's always lots of spiritual help for them. Okay, that's our second half, second third. We're going to go for another break.
Yes, another short break for everyone.
Yes.
See you in a moment. Okay, Dr. Leslie.
Welcome back, everyone. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. And tonight we've been talking about strange psychic phenomenon and answering people's questions about experiences that they've had. And now for the last part of the show, it's just open to any and all questions.
And Kelly's asking, are all ghosts bad? Are all ghosts bad?
So bad and good is a human concept, first off. So I would say everything is part of God. And then, you know, it begs the question, what is a ghost in the first place, doesn't it? What is a ghost? So ghosts, the experience that we call seeing a ghost can be caused by different things. You could be seeing somebody in their astral body. You could be seeing someone who's in their astral body who's still alive and it's just their astral body. You could be seeing somebody who passed on, and because the astral body survives longer than the physical body, and you could be tuning into that. Or you could be tuning into an echo from the past. So sometimes there is strong, powerful energies laid down because some strong, powerful experience or emotional thing has happened in a place. I don't know, like a murder in a castle, you know, and then there's the ghost of the person who was murdered. It can just be almost like a recording of the event, a sort of psychic recording of the event. And you're just tuning into that energy deposit. Meanwhile, that being isn't there anymore. They long ago moved on, but there's just the recording of the event and you're tuning into that. So there's different explanations for seeing a ghost. And I would say you can probably see from those explanations, none of those we wouldn't label them with the word bad, would we? You know, and then we did another episode on entities where we talked about non-benevolent spirits. So I guess I'll draw your attention to listen to that episode as well. And so, you know, are there beings that interfere with other people's energy? Yes. We can call them bad if we want. We can call them out of alignment with their true nature as well. But the short answer is no, all ghosts are not bad. So, Corey, is there another question you have? I have got one written on the notes from someone who wrote in called Tracy, if you don't have one in the chat.
Well, I have a comment from a couple of comments, and one's from Carla. It says, could ungrounded energy cause house fires? And also Shannon says, I'm wondering if you could give me some general advice reading. I have been trying to concentrate on my third eye opening and my intuition, so I have been grounding, chakra clearing, and doing shadow work. Am I all over the place? I'm wondering if I should focus on one area and maybe even sign up for your intuition course.
Okay, so that was 2 questions. So was the first one, can a house fire be caused by spirit? Is that the first one?
Yes, could ungrounded energy cause house fires?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is. They're all good questions.
Yeah. Well, I think I do, and I haven't seen that. That doesn't mean the answer is no. I definitely have seen ungrounded energy interfere with electrical systems. So, you know, I would say that it is possible. Depends where that question's coming from, really. in the context of telekinesis, do I believe that that's possible for a person to direct their energy to start a fire? Actually, I do. How common is that in this day and age? Not at all common. How many people have actually got that advanced level of capability? Very, 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 very few. So yeah, that would kind of be my answer. And then the other lady, I didn't follow all of that, Corey, because there was a lot. Oh,
I'll read it out to you again.
Yeah, thank you.
I am wondering if you could give me some general advice or reading. I've been trying to concentrate on my third eye opening and my intuition, so I have been grounding, chakra clearing, and doing shadow work. Am I all over the place? I'm wondering if I should focus on one area and maybe even sign up for your intuition course.
Okay.
That's it.
It depends what she's doing in order to open and activate her third eye.
I'm sure she'll let you know in the chat.
In my intuition course, we practice a very specific technique. And I think one of the things that people get confused about, they're often focusing in their forehead. And while the sixth chakra is projecting through the forehead, right? The forehead is not necessarily where we would say is the place to be. The forehead's kind of, that part of your brain is where your intellect is and your thinking brain is. So people are often just hovering around there in their forehead, trying to like force something to happen. Maybe they're seeing some different colors floating by when they close their eyes. And, in a way you could sit all day and bathe in that and just watch that and nothing else would happen. The third eye is in the center of the brain, in the pineal gland. And so we focus on learning how to seek the consciousness there in the Unlock Your Intuition course, which is starting next week, by the way. So I'm currently recruiting students for the next batch of students for Unlock Your Intuition. So the timing is good for anyone who is excited about developing their intuition and learning some very powerful ancient techniques to help you to do that. But is she all over the place? Not necessarily. Developing your intuition is about cleansing your energy, raising your vibration, healing yourself. And so, there's different ways that we can all choose to heal ourselves. So, and we all also have our own unique journey as well. So, but I think, it just depends on how you're approaching it, how effective it's going to be. And one of the advantages of taking a course is that hopefully you've got a teacher there who can sort of take you by the hand and guide you through it and give you feedback on what you're doing that's working, or what you are doing where you might be misguided in some way, or if you're stuck, why you're stuck and what to do to unstick yourself. And so that Unlock Your Intuition course is really good because you have access to me mentoring you and helping you with your specific journey, as well as learning all those amazing techniques. I hope that helps. You're welcome to connect with me and have a chat about taking the course.
Yes, I was just going over the when I was getting the link for the posts on ghosts, and Frank Talbert's name came up, this fellow that we interviewed that time about doing all the ghosts in Vancouver, on Vancouver Island. Very interesting. That was an interesting. He's written a couple of books on ghosts, and there are lots of lore in the First Nations that he talks about as well. Ghosts. I've seen ghosts. Have you seen ghosts, Dr. Leslie?
Hang on,
Actual spirit?
talking about Frank, yeah, they're novels, but he does his research, so they're
Yeah.
really. Have I seen a ghost? Well, I was just talking about the definition of a ghost, wasn't I? I mean, I see spirits all the time. I see spirit all the time.
No,
It's
different,
okay.
different. Have you seen a ghost, a ghosty ghost?
What's your definition of a ghosty ghost?
A ghosty ghost, someone, an energy force within the home that lives more or less in that presence of a home, or because I find in most situations, spirit lingers in one place, usually a place they've been attached to in their life. And so have you ever had a haunting?
So I don't think of it in the same way that you are. So it's hard for me to answer your question, but I'll share an experience that it might sound similar to a haunting. I sold a house once, and unbeknownst to me, it had a gas leak. And the person who bought the house was, when they found it had a gas leak, was really mad. And for days and days, I could not get rid of the smell of gas. I was smelling it everywhere I went. And then it turned out, she emailed me to say, hey, this house has got a gas leak. So that's not exactly a haunting, but it's, I was kind of haunted by the smell of gas for a while. But yeah, I mean, I don't, I've given you my explanation of what my perspective on a ghost is. Okay, so.
Okay.
I might not interpret it the same way that you're saying.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen ghosts. I've seen spirits. The first one I saw was when I was about 6 or 7 years old. Actually, it was 3. It was I think I've told the story before. A mom, a dad, and the woman had a baby in her arm. My mother had just put me to bed. I wasn't asleep. She just put me to bed, and across the room, my brother slept in the same room as I did. In his bed, these 3 beings appeared, and they were in an eerie light, and eerie, I won't say it was orange or gold, or they just eerie, and they were wearing 1800s garbs, long dress. She had a long dress on down to her ankles, and he had a top hat on, and they were very happy. They were smiling, and they sort of came over to my bed as if to show me the baby. You know what I mean? Like, here's our baby. And at that point, I just looked at them and I said, I spoke out loud, said to more or less called out to my mother, said, Mom, I've seen your guests. And my mother came in and turned the light on. Like, she came in and the light was, you could turn the light on before you entered the room, and she just turned it on and they were gone. Very interesting. Yeah, and I had the covers were off of me at that time, and ever since then I've never been able to sleep with the covers off. It's really weird. Anyway, I lived on a cemetery for 8 years when I was 8 years old to 12 years old. Never saw a ghost there. Saw some interesting weird stuff. But Christine says, can you see if the house I grew up in was actually haunted, or was it residual, or was I just imagining things? Christine.
So what kind of things were you experiencing, Christine?
Let us know very quickly there, Christine, and we'll take a look. While I recount the second story, a house that I was just living in before I met you, Dr. Leslie, for a couple of years had a spirit, and it was an old sea captain. It was very interesting. I never really saw the vision, but you could see, you could see that it was the person, and you could always see him crossing the hallway in front of a mirror. It was very weird. I wasn't the only one that saw him. A few other people saw him too.
That sounds like one of those energy signatures that's just like a replay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very just over and over again. Yeah. And Christine says radio lights on, off in dreams.
Radio lights on and off.
Radio lights and on radios and lights turning, radio turning on and off, lights turning on and off, and toilets flushing. That's how she recalls it. If she recalls it correctly, she says. And bad feeling in a room.
So again, like bad feeling in a room, it can just be some kind of energy deposit, and it's relatively easy to clean it out if you know how. So that can just be an energy that's lingering. See, I'm inclined to give the same kind of answer that I've given about the other things, you know, that there's some kind of I don't really see it as a haunting. I'm not really getting any information about it.
Okay. Anyway, it's almost time. It's almost time to go. That was a very interesting show, Dr. Leslie.
Yes.
Now you can become a Ghostbuster.
But here's one thing. I promised somebody that I would do her question, and we're probably not going to get time, so maybe we're going to do a show on it. So Tracy wanted us to talk about how foods we eat and drink affect our intuition.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
We can do that next week.
And also
do a show.
medicines that we take. Yes, and we can do that. We can do that as the show for next week.
Sounds great. And so I guess we're going to say goodbye to everybody, and
yeah,
see them next week.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. And we're here every Tuesday from 7 to 8 Pacific time. We live stream on the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group. And we live stream on my YouTube channel, Dr. Leslie Phillips' YouTube channel. Catch the podcast on drlesliephillips.com/category/podcasts. Or you can even tune into us if you live in the Fraser Valley of BC on 101.7 FM.
And we'll see you next week. Take care, all. Bye-bye now.